I know there's huge changes happening, but I'm not going to burn everything to the ground and I'm not going to freak out about it. And I'm not going to want to rush the process because I have thankfully gathered the evidence that I can just walk through this with a little bit more ease and trust and flow and faith and step it out and know that I'll get those little breadcrumbs every single step of the way.
Hello, and welcome to Alchemy Mindset. I'm your host, Anna Hasty, business mindset coach for women and a sound healer. If you are ready to become the most aligned, magnetic, and confident businesswoman you are worthy and deserving of being, then this show is for you. This is where I share everything from mindset, energy, and spirituality, and how to embody your future self in business and life. Sprinkle that with deeply relaxing sound healings and meditations, and you have the Alchemy Mindset podcast. Hit subscribe so you always get the latest episode. Now let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the Alchemy Mindset podcast. It's my absolute pleasure, and I'm so thrilled to have Nikki Voxx on my show today. I know you're going to get so much out of this conversation I have with her, and I'm just so happy that she agreed to be on my show. Nikki is someone I came across years ago on Tash Corbin's Facebook community page, Heart-Centered Soul-Driven Entrepreneurs, I think it's what it's called. Anyway, and I found it as she was advertising how to transform your Facebook meditations into an audio. And I was like, yes, I've got a few I could do, because at the time I was doing a lot of online sound bath healings, and I picked 3 and she magically transformed them for me, helped me do intros and outros and all these things. And last year I had the ambition that I was going to go and, find these, actually sell them. They've been sitting in my files somewhere. However, during some sort of crazy file migration that I got done and a few other things, they got lost. But that is essentially how I came across Nikki originally. And she's also the one who helped me start my podcast. I purchased her DIY podcast program, and that's how Alchemy Mindset began, which has been such an amazing journey for me. So let me introduce you to Nikki. Nikki Voxx believes the magic of conversation is real, that each unique voice is the cornerstone of facilitating healing, change, and transformation. She calls herself the Podcasting Priestess, working with clients to connect more intimately with their audience via digital media marketing. Her work in the world was a natural progression from an extensive background in radio, where as an announcer for commercial stations across South Australia and Victoria, Nikki entertained and informed and connected with her listeners. As an entrepreneur and soul-led creative, she adores helping clients further their reach by clarifying their unique message using podcasting, hello to me and my podcast, and digital media marketing to broadcast it to the world. She also has the binge-worthy and wildly successful podcast, Quintessential Being, that offers a fresh perspective that cultivates awareness and invites acceptance. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Hello. Welcome, Nikki. Welcome to the Alchemy Mindset podcast. It's such a pleasure, and I'm so thrilled to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. I am super excited to dive into this chat with you. I'm just bursting out the seams.
Let's just start. Tell us, how did you get to where you are today, and where you're even moving or transitioning through right now within your business and all the things that you do as a businesswoman, as a soul-led entrepreneur?
Oh, thank you. It's funny that you asked that, because I'm in a real transition period just in terms of my business. I started out basically starting a podcast was how I started. I have a background in radio, and I went through a huge personal transformation after having my son. He was 5 weeks old when I left his dad. Becoming a new mum, that's some for real transformation in and of itself. Having a relationship on top of that kind of dissolve was also really tricky. And so I needed something to anchor myself to, because I felt like I'd lost myself. I felt completely broken, completely lost. I didn't know who I was and what my identity was as a new mum. And I knew I wanted to emerge on the other side stronger and more powerful than ever before. So the way in which I got myself there was when I was in radio. I used to love, like, one of my superpowers was interviewing. I loved interviews. And I had not a lot, but I had a few celebrities actually say to me, "Oh my God, I loved your interview," which is pretty big for them because they do press junkets. So they like literally do back to back to back to back interviews. So if I was at the end of the day and they were like, "Oh, you're like a breath of fresh air," I knew I had a bit of a superpower there. So long story short, I started my own podcast as a way to connect, chat to other people, heal through conversations. I think conversations can be incredibly healing and magical. And I think there is so much medicine in storytelling and listening and sharing and connecting. And it was at a time in my life where I really needed that. I needed to chat to women who had come before me and who had been where I had been and walked through the fire and come out the other side. I needed that inspiration. I needed their wisdom. I needed their strength and their power. And so I started my own podcast as a way to really map that out for me and put one foot in front of the other. And it was a bit of a passion project and something that I could do for myself and heal myself and put myself back together. And through that process, I was in a small sort of business community in Adelaide where I live. And some people started coming to me and saying, "Hey, can you help me start a podcast? How do I do it for my business? I want to do it as part of my marketing plan." And so, that was really one particular woman, Libby, who started a movement. She really pushed me to help her obviously start a podcast, but also to do this as a business. And I'd always wanted to run a business that I could do really flexibly from a laptop, and which happens to be all of my unique set of skills. That's how I got to where I am now. So I'm a podcast producer. I help people with all sorts of audio, hypnosis, meditation, all that kind of stuff. But I love the magic of conversation. I love storytelling. I love just the moments of aha you can get when you sit down and quiet your mind and chat to someone else, and they can give you a completely different perspective on something that you've really been struggling with for a while. And I think there's not enough women in the podcasting space and in media in general. And I'm here to empower and help every single woman to stand up and find their voice.
Yay, amazing. And as I said in the intro, like, I found you through a Facebook group, Tash Corbin's, and you originally helped me transform 3 meditations I did from Facebook into an audio, which sadly in a file migration I lost.
Oh, did you?
I don't know what happened to them. Anyway, does not matter. It's okay. It wasn't meant to go any further than what it did, but it was a great experience to learn what you taught me in that. And then for you to then help guide me through setting up my podcast. I've found the conversations that you can have through podcasting as such an easy, it's very flexible, so creative. So for me, it's really easy just to sit and talk and listen to what people have to say, because we all have such incredible stories, don't we?
Oh, 100%. And that's what I love about, if you're talking about conversations, and we can reference it or frame it in around marketing and selling for your business, right? No, I don't think any woman on the planet loves selling unless they've done a lot of work on themselves. A lot of us find it a little bit sticky, a little bit tricky. But if you're showing up for a conversation and you're having a heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul conversation and sharing some of your story, there's going to be 10 different people that listen and take 10 different things from that. And that's what I love about storytelling. That's what I love about podcasts, because it's such an intimate medium and you're really tapping into that intimacy and then conveying something, a learning, a teaching that's going to show someone else so much more powerfully than a blueprint or a 7-step process or whatever it is. By you sharing your story, people can pick up on context and depth and the way that you viewed something, and then what shifted in you for you to come through the other side. And I just think there's a reason why it's been passed down for thousands and thousands of years, stories, because it's part of how we evolve and grow. And
absolutely. Yeah. And you said something really important there, like not every woman is like a fan of marketing or selling themselves, unless you have a marketing degree and that's your jam. Like, I have observed a lot of people and gone, they're really great at what they do, but then you find out that they've done like a university degree in marketing or they worked in it previously, and that kind of makes sense for you. But for someone like myself, where my talents lie in meditation and sound baths and and helping people think through the work in the healing and subconscious mind and all the stuff that I love. I know we've talked about before on your podcast. Yeah, marketing and selling myself is not one of my favorite things. It's not something I'd love to go, oh, got to sell and promote myself today, even though in business, it is something you have to do a lot of regardless, because how else are people going to find you?
Exactly.
But like you said, like those conversations that you can have, people also feel your intention and energy as well, don't they?
Yes. And that's what I love about it. Thank you so much for raising that, because I think a lot of soulful and spiritual women in business, we have really big, important work to do, right? We want to heal people. We want to share. We want to empower people. And we also find it tricky to stand up and sell. Whereas if you can just show up for conversations you do every single day with your clients, with people, I think it removes that barrier and that block of, one, attracting people that really aren't aligned with you, and two, like the selly part. It's almost like you get to bypass that by just showing up and being who you are. And naturally, then you can attract people into your audience, into your vortex, and then they buy from you, which I think is that feels so much more, what's the word? I want to say like balance, but balance isn't the right word. There's an exchange there.
Yeah. I feel like the word I want to keep coming back to is like fluid in a way. Like it's that easy. And what I find as well is that when you have a conversation with someone about the work you do, it does flow more naturally, doesn't it? Because, they ask questions or you can give examples rather than trying to perfect your pitch or write that perfect copy byline to stick on your Instagram profile or on a website. We're not all great wordsmiths when it comes to typing, but we all have that ability to speak and just naturally share what we do. And, sometimes I just pretend you're sitting there and having a conversation with someone. Well, how would you have a conversation with someone in a cafe? You just talk. It's not like that. There's no sort of rigidity in it, is there?
No, there's not. And lots of people are like, oh, what if I run out of content? Or I'm like, you never run out of having conversations. You don't have to plan. And it's something that you don't have to plan out. I emailed you a couple of days ago and was like, is this going to be a video or can we just do audio? Because I don't always love having to show up with a full face of makeup and done my hair. And we are mums
wearing a nice outfit.
We are holding a lot. And so sometimes it's just easy to show up for a soulful conversation and allow that to organically flow, and then for people to get to know our hearts, and then the rest comes naturally.
Yeah. Can I share something with you? It's just this crazy. First of all, I got beautiful confirmation through what you were saying earlier about it's important for women to share their story, and this is this is such an easy way to do it. Really, there's no right or wrong way in the way you do your podcast. Your podcast is yours, regardless of what everybody else says out there.
Yes.
Podcast can be your own. And I got a beautiful confirmation of that's a beautiful message that you're here to inspire and share. But there's also this image that I keep coming back to, and I just have to share it with you as well as the listeners. It's like you and I and so many other beautiful women out there, we're all sitting around this like ancient campfire, and you are that like priestess in terms, like, even though you say like the podcasting priestess, you're like this storytelling priestess, and we're all sitting here listening and sharing and having that communal conversation as women. And it's a very like this image I keep coming back to. It's like campfire, we're out in nature. It's very tribal, it's very ancient, but it's this beautiful energy that's always been in and around, I would say you as well, like you, because we're having this conversation, but it's always been there and it's still surrounding you, and it's there, and it's really special. I have to share that because I just keep coming back to it all the time. Like, oh, she's done this before.
Thank you so much. That's a beautiful thing. That's going to make me cry. It's a beautiful thing to say. And I really appreciate you for saying that to me. That's visualization is really, that's a way that I receive messages and things too. So I really appreciate that. And I receive that fully. And yeah, I love that. And I would have to say that you've really tapped into the essence, because I really do have this like burning desire to help every single woman on the planet share their story. Because like you said a few minutes ago, we all have a really important story, a powerful story, and through the magic of conversation, that's how we heal. It's how we feel better. It's how we evolve. It's how we grow. It's how we share with the next generation. I think podcasting can create such a beautiful legacy, not just for you, but it creates community and all the things. I just love it.
Yeah,
I just love it.
I'm so grateful to be part of the podcasting world and to have initiated this, because like you said, it is an evergreen thing. It is part of a legacy that can be left there. And if anything, it's a way of me recording who I am at this moment in time.
And moving through the different seasons.
Yeah, if anybody wanted to go back to the archives of maybe one day in the future, there's someone out there, who do you think you are? That program.
Yeah.
Like, you were related to Anna Hasty. She had a podcast.
Yeah. And I often even think now we also have so many episodes. I know this is a funny thing to think of, but we have episodes of our voices recorded and parts of our story recorded that our kids and our grandkids can listen to. I had a man approach me the other day who wants to start a podcast. And one of the reasons he wants to start is to create a legacy for his kids, because he has a very unique personal life story and he wants to share that and pass that on. Do you know what I mean? And I think what a beautiful way to be able to do that. It's bigger than you and I, and it's bigger than just marketing our businesses. It's a way, I don't want to get corny, but this is the modern day version of passing those stories down through generations. Absolutely. And showing the different seasons of life and business and motherhood and spirituality and life on earth.
Yeah.
Because it's real out here.
Yeah. And the things that we're interested in, and that we are moving through, but the things that I'm interested in talking about spirituality and business and helping women as well, like really just tap into their own inner wisdom and their intuition that can get so lost when we get caught in our day-to-day, but that deeper healing as well through our subconscious mind. Storytelling is just as important. As you said, it's our modern day form of that tribal storytelling. Side note, my uncle in our family, and this is on my mother's side, so he's my mother's brother-in-law, that's in terms of being an uncle. He is who I deem our tribal storyteller or like record holder, because he can tell you amazing stories about every single person of the family. I wouldn't even know them. Goodness help us what's going to happen when he passes away. I feel like I need to go, right, Tom?
Yeah.
We
need to sit down and record.
Because these stories I feel could get lost. And he has some great stories that just, some of them you've heard over and over again, but others that you're just like, wow, I did not know that. And it's part of him and who he is, because he loves history. And I remember the first time he met Francois, he was like, I said, Francois, just be warned. This is my husband. He's gonna single you out straight away. He'll be like, hi, Anna, how are you? Francois. And he'll want to know who you are, where you come from, your family, who's in your family, history, how long you've been in Australia, blah, 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 blah. They were gone for like hours. Wherever we were, like, they're over there.
Yeah.
And it's important. I think it
is important. Yeah. And even when we repeat stories, I don't know about you, but when I find people that I really love learning from, I'll often listen to the same content over and over again, because you get something different from it every time. When you're in a different season of life, you'll find another lesson or another golden nugget or another way of looking at something else that previously you can't even remember hearing that time. And I think those are why just the layers and the context of story gives us so much more, because we are human. We're not just our brains. We are a soul and a body and all those other things too.
Yeah. Such powerful work there is in podcasting, isn't there? Such powerful work. It goes just beyond, like you said, business and marketing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's something really interesting I've been reflecting on. Like, one of the episodes I'm planning to do at the end of this year is the reflections of my full year in doing podcasts, because I feel like that will be really helpful for those who are considering a podcast or have started but fallen off, or all of you are just curious about podcasts, whatever. But even now, sometimes I'm like, this is where I thought it would start and where it would go. But now I'm already getting this sense, like this inner sense, that there's something more that needs to slightly transform out of this. I can't pinpoint it. I can't articulate it. I don't know exactly. So I continue as I'm going. I'm not going to give up and go, oh, something else is meant to happen. I don't know what that is right now, so I'll put a pause on it. I'll keep going. But I know there is something else that will shift within it, but I can't articulate it yet. Yeah. So it's really interesting how in itself is a form of thought, a form of sharing. It's already starting to take a little bit of a change all in itself, which is cool.
I totally love that. And I think that's such a great lesson for the people listening to hear. And I could say the same thing about podcasting, right? Like before I even had my son, and he's 7 now, and I started my podcast 5 years ago, and I only started my business 3 years ago. But when, like, back before I had my son, I wanted my own business. I wanted to be able to work from a laptop, and I just didn't know how that was going to happen. And I knew, same as you, I knew from starting my podcast, it had nothing to do with, I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know how my business was going to be born out of it, but I knew it was an integral step in me getting to that place. Like, I had no idea what it would look like. And I podcasted for probably about a year before I even all came about. But it's funny when you, like you said, when you can detach and let go of the how, you're in a transition and you know that you're going to get there. You're going to reach the other side. You don't know what that looks like, how things are going to change or what's going to happen, but you know that you need to take those steps. I think that's a really important message for people to hear, because so often I think we can overrate clarity is great. And also sometimes we have to hold the unknown safely whilst coaching ourselves, or whether that's through other coaching, really allowing and stepping into that void and that nothingness and knowing that the answers will come, but perhaps the timing isn't right, or perhaps you haven't learned something just yet, or something else needs to drop, or you need to meet such and such, or it's different in every single circumstance and experience. But I think trusting that process and feeling comfortable in that, I don't know what this looks like yet, but I know I'm going to get there, it's how I'm here. And here again, I know my business is going to look really different a year from now. Like, I know it is. I know there's huge changes happening, but I'm not going to burn everything to the ground, and I'm not going to freak out about it. And I'm not going to want to rush the process, because I have thankfully gathered the evidence that I can just walk through this with a little bit more ease and trust and flow and faith and step it out, and know that I'll get those breadcrumbs every single step of the way. So I just wanted to touch on that, because I think that's a really important kind of message.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's what goes along with one of my favorite affirmations, is that I welcome new and exciting aligned opportunities to flow my way. I'm welcome for all these amazing opportunities. And that's what sounds like it's evolving within your, or transitioning within your own business. There's opportunities. It's almost like people haven't come into your life yet, into your business world or personal world, that will shape and change those things. And like you said, we can't rush the process. And we need to let go of the how is going to happen, but trust that as long as you stay in your integrity and your alignment with the what and the why you're doing this, the rest all evolves and changes. And we can witness that in so many other women out there who run businesses. For myself, I started in massage, but then I pivoted, moved into sound bath healings. And then that sort of led me into this mindset coaching thing. And I know it's going to evolve into something else later on, but maybe there ain't like a job word for that yet, like we don't know what that's called yet.
Exactly. Or it hasn't invented yet.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how amazing is that? So it makes it exciting. It does make it exciting. I feel that sometimes we can get a bit too bogged down on, I'm stuck in this limbo place right now, or I'm stuck in this transitionary place, and I just feel like I can't move forwards. Actually, you can move forwards with what you're already doing, even if it feels messy and icky.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry. It'll sort itself out. Just be messy. Do the things that feel great in this moment anyway, and the rest will all fall into place. Yes,
I think
it's easy to say that, but when we walk in it, we go, oh my God.
I know. It can
at the same time, as a reminder, let's keep it at that. Hey.
Yeah. Like, you can feel that stuckness, and then you can also choose to not let it overwhelm you. And I think you said it perfectly in like opportunity, right? When you say the word stuck, that vibrationally feels, and you feel a close down and a cut off and a like shrinking. Whereas when you can go, it feels a bit messy now. It doesn't look as perfect as I want it to, but I'm opening to opportunity. I'm opening to the next step. That feels so much more expansive, and then magic can happen, and then it can happen in an instant. You get an idea, or you'll meet someone or whatever, and just then it can move really quickly and fall into place. I think we can get a little bit caught up on the stuckness, or the I'm not there yet, or it's too messy or chaotic or whatever it is, and kind of do ourselves over a bit there.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I'd love for you to share, actually, how do you do it? How do you juggle mum life with running a business? Because I'm new to mum life, quite familiar with running a business. I would love to know the answer to this. Love to know the answer. And 7 years in, or 5 years, 5 years of running a podcast, but 3 years of running a business. Come on, tell me, how does it work, Nikki? What does it look like for you?
I broke up with the word balance. I would have to say. I don't think that no one, no matter what it looks like on the outside to anybody anywhere, I can guarantee you that no one ever has all their shit together. And there's always like one plate that's dropped or rolling on the ground or whatever it is. So I think this idea that that things are going to be all great. You would know all the different, is it the wheel of life, or there's all these different kind of areas of life that we're always wanting to grow and evolve in. A long time ago, I decided to accept the fact that there's always going to be epic growth. It's who I am as a human, and that's going to look messy sometimes. And so I also just sat down with myself and accepted that balance isn't really going to suit me. However, I can choose to pour my energy into the areas that I want to grow the most in that particular season in life, right? Whether it's my parenting and my relationship with my son, whether it's my business, whether it's a certain aspect of my business, whether it's home life, whether it's myself and spirituality, if it's my partner, whatever that is. I do have a monthly check-in practice where I have a look at all those areas in my life and what do I want to achieve in those areas.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I'm also very acutely aware that it's not all going to happen all at once. And so I really allow time for seasons of different parts of my life having the most attention and love from me, if that makes sense. I flip from doing balance to like, where can I find harmony and where can I feel like it's okay. I'm in this season at the moment and I'm really concentrating on work on my business, or I'm in this season at the moment where I'm really concentrating on my relationship with my son because he needs my love right now, or I'm really concentrating on, and that's going to change all the time, like whether your kid's like transitioning to school or whether you're in the middle of a rebrand in your business, whatever it is. Or so I think just being aware of what the areas of life are and what your values and standards are in those parts of your life, and then knowing that it's going to ebb and flow, and that's okay. That's really okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way that you've pictured it, saying that you're finding harmony as opposed to balance, because I feel like a lot of people think balance is having everything on an even keel, but in actual fact, it is being able to mindfully go through it, as you said, the ebb and flows of life, and being able to manage that without really losing our shit too much.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Like, because sometimes you're going to want to stay up until 10 o'clock on your laptop doing work. And I stopped making myself wrong for those things. There was a long period of time where I felt like my business wasn't getting enough attention. My son wasn't getting enough attention. I wasn't getting enough mental health and well-being and so I just needed to stop making myself wrong for wanting to do the things that I want. If I wanted to stay up and work on my business 3 or 4 nights a week, and that meant I was a little bit tired, I knew that was a temporary thing and a season, and it wasn't going to last forever. And that's okay. Like, I think we can often as women make ourselves wrong for the things that we want. It's okay to want what we want, and it's okay to ask for help. That's another thing. I remember being told early on in business, outsource what you can. And sometimes it's easier for us to outsource things in business, but also outsourcing things at home is really helpful. Getting a cleaner or whatever the things that you need to feel supported that you really just don't want to do, be real with yourself. And if you're resourced enough to do it, or if you can do it when you're like listening to something else. I used to clean my house while I was listening to my favorite podcast, so it didn't feel like I was doing work. I think doing those things as well, and making those connections and making something that you don't love doing, that you have to do and can't be outsourced. How can you make it more enjoyable? How can you make it feel good? We talked about feeling good, right? Because the more we can feel good in our life, not every single moment, but every single day, the better your life's going to be and the more harmony is going to feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really like everything you've just said. Like, it just, again, this is the moment where I'm sitting here going, yes, I'm getting so much out of this. This makes sense for me, because being a new mum, I won't say, I don't know, like my experience of being a mum is up until this moment in time, and Ava is almost 1 year old. And what I've learned is to basically let go of all the preconceived ideas. And you've just touched on this, of beating ourselves up as women for what we should or shouldn't be doing according to what somebody else has said. Or so, for example, for me,
I've just let go of the fact that during the day, while Ava is so little, she needs my attention 100% of the time. And the times when I thought I could do work within her presence, she's basically banned me. She's clearly told me, hey, mom, no, I'm here. You pay attention to me. That's why I'm here. I'm like, okay. But if I need to stay up later at night, my trade-off is that, okay, I might feel tired tomorrow. It's okay that I stayed up because I actually felt like I got things done. I wasn't diverted in my attention. It was clear and I could concentrate solely on what I had to do without having to look at Ava, and you're not fully present in one or the other, really. But the trade-off might be, yes, I might be a bit tired tomorrow. I could probably have a nap when she has a nap. That just might mean I stay up a bit later in the night anyway, and that's how it's going to be for now. It's not permanent. It's tattoo. No. And then when Francois got school holidays, I can actually say to him, can you please, I really need to etch out some time that's just for me and my business so I can feel satisfied with what I'm doing. Please look after her on this day and this day. It doesn't always work out like that. We might all just decide we want to go to the beach and hang out together, which is great. But I've learned at this moment in time to stop modeling what I should be doing according to what other people are doing, because they're not in my life. They're not in my life.
Yes.
That's okay for me to do it the way that I need to do it now. So if I have to work, if I do a bit of work on a Saturday or a Sunday when Francois can have her, great. If I can do a little bit more in the evening, great. But like you said, that wheel of life, that sort of looking at your pie chart of all the things, including yourself. Yes, I realize that, okay, I may be not having enough time with Francois or even my own needs. So where is that going to fit into this as well? Just to bring a bit of, like you said, harmony into that as well, because we might drop a plate here and there, but it is important to be observant of that and not let it sit smashed on the floor for too long, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, like knowing who you are, social media is great. And also it can tell us the wrong messages, and we can get confused thinking that we should mum like that, or we should juggle mum life and business like that. When really, you really need to know who you are. I probably should have gotten a little bit more childcare earlier on so I could have more of my own time, because I'm a single mum. I didn't get a lot of time to myself. Whereas when I was podcasting and starting my own business, that actually fueled me and gave me a lot more of myself back, which then I was able to pour into my son and into every other area of my life. So you really need to know yourself in terms of where is things lighting you up? What do you need that you're sometimes denying yourself because you're thinking that you shouldn't need it or shouldn't want it because you're a mum now and they're really this or they're really that or whatever it is, right? Like you've really got to check in and who am I and what do I want? And that sometimes that's going to look really messy and it can be really experimental and it can change month to month because especially when kids are little, it does change month to month.
Oh, absolutely. Like from thinking of Ava from when she was first born and those first few weeks to then being like, let's say milestones of 3 months, 6 months, I'm going to say 8 months now, and then almost 1 year old, like she's in her first year, poor kid, she's gone through a lot of growth, hasn't she? Just like the rest of us.
Yeah. And you've gone through a lot of growth too as a mum, right? Yeah. Like when a child is born, a mum is born too. And you walk into this, I always say to people, it's like you walk into this forest and you can't go back the other way. You can only go forwards. And so it's about relearning, okay, who am I now and what do I need to keep and what do I need to change and what do I need to shift, because we are different and we have this little being who's dependent on us and who we really want to have a beautiful, secure relationship with. And so it's this other thing that we have to bring into what does that look like? And like you said, at the moment, it's better to have laser focused attention at nighttime. And that's sometimes so much easier. Like mums are incredibly resourceful at getting really laser focused and productive in short amounts of time if you allow yourself to do that. And then other times it's okay, I'm with my family or my partner or whatever it is. And really just letting yourself off the hook. I think we also have this idea of this 9 to 5 work day in our head still left over, when actually 2 hours of my focused time can be as productive as an 8-hour workday of someone who works behind a desk, right? If that happens at nighttime, it happens at nighttime. I've long ago stopped beating myself up about that as well, in terms of, no, I started this business to be flexible, to work around my family and my son. And so that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got an affirmation that comes up on my phone daily, and it says something along the lines of, I'm so grateful that I have a business that allows me to work around and with Ava.
Yeah.
So I put both words in there because I want to be able to work in my business when I can, but I also want to be with Ava at the same time. So that affirmation for me is just that solid reminder of, I'm creating my business, and how lucky am I that I have this time and flexibility, the way I can shape it around being a mum and being with Ava. And even the times, like now I get to take her to my sound bath healings. Like my mums and bubs, like she gets to be front and center up the front with me, and be part
and they
of
get
the
to
team.
see you work. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important, just as you were speaking then, I was like, I always have a couple of women around me who are like a little bit older and a little bit further ahead in the life journey than I am, because I feel like you can then borrow wisdom from them too. And I was just thinking, there will be a season where you'll get to sit next to her on the couch and do work while she's, and now my son goes to school, I can do a whole chunk of work while he's at school. So it's also really important, I think, to have those kind of conversations with different women and figure out, how do they make things work, and how can I bring that into my life? Is it going to work in my life, or does it not suit my family? Like those things are really important too. I'm really appreciative of all the connections that I have and the friendships, because I think that really helps us. Like we don't have the village like we used to. And so where we can find those places of connection and sharing, just in terms of how people do life, it's incredibly supportive. And then you get those perspective shifts like, oh, I never thought of doing it like that, or never thought I could do that, or outsource that, or go get that, or whatever it is, that it can be an awesome mum hack.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And again, that comes back to the start of our conversation, where it's about sharing those stories and having the conversation, because that inspires and creates healing, transformation, and change, doesn't it?
And be willing to be vulnerable and asking for, I'm really struggling with this aspect right now. What did you find? Or do you know someone? I said to someone the other day, I've just started a relationship with a beautiful partner of mine, and he's got 2 kids, and I've never done like blended families. And I said to one of my friends, do you know someone who has done this before? It's going to be, I know it's going to be tricky when we end up moving in together. And I want someone who I can lean on and share with, who's been where I've been, so that they can lend me that wisdom. I think that's really important. That's why we had the elders, right, in the tribes, so that we could go to them and say, this is what's happening. I don't know what to do. How do you look at it? Because when you're removed from the situation, you're always so much more objective. We get to borrow people's wisdom if we are brave enough to be vulnerable, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, be vulnerable and ask for that help. We can often get bogged down in that mindset of we have to figure it all out ourselves, and that asking for help means that there's a problem. Well, there is a
problem. There is a problem, but it doesn't mean you're weak. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation so much. I've just noticed, as we're recording this on Zoom for the listeners, you're holding, I'm assuming it's a crystal in your hand.
I am. Yeah. Good pick up. You probably can't see it very well because
there it is. Yeah. Which one's that?
Do you know, it's flown out of my head.
Oh, that's okay.
I want to say Chrysola, something like that. It's this beautiful, I'll describe it. I really love raw crystals. Like I like raw crystals a lot more than I like smooth, pretty ones.
Polished ones.
Like I really love raw ones. And this one is connected to like communication and speaking. And I really love to share as much as I can to help other people. So this is the one that I use a lot when I'm being interviewed, so that I can bring the very best out or whatever. Yeah.
I love that. So having said that, what's your go-to spiritual practices, or what are the things that you love to do that helps you within your personal day-to-day life, as well as being a mum and being in business? What do you do?
So I have a few things. Like I mentioned just before, I have a monthly practice with a couple of like business besties. So we get together and I have this framework where we go through like a reflection period of the month that was, and like what our wins and losses, what gold we got from those, all those sorts of things. And we can really celebrate the wins as well as understand the losses and how that happened. And then we go into a bit of a visioning process where we do a meditation and then think about or meditate on the month to come and what we want to achieve, how we want to feel, who we want to talk to, the conversations we want to be having, how we want to be supported, the area of life that we want to concentrate on the most, whether that's business or relationship or home or health or spirituality, whatever it is. And then we map out some like action steps so that we keep ourselves accountable and always are moving forward no matter what. And it's really interesting. The thing I love about that practice the most is not just that I get to achieve my goals and move forward, but also the process of learning and doing it with other people is really beautiful in terms of watching people grow in their own businesses. And also you can really look back and you know how sometimes you have something on your to-do list and it's been there for 6 months and you're like, oh, why am I not doing it? I think doing it this way with this framework really allows me to look at it and be like, okay, I'm not doing it. Do I want to delegate it or do I need to get rid of it? Do you know what I mean? Because it's just some of those, sometimes you've got something on your to-do list, but it's not obviously soul aligned or it's not lighting you up, or it either needs to get done and you just need to bite the bullet and do it, or you delegate it or you let it go. And so I think those things are really helpful in terms of not carrying too much over into the next year. And then it's been 10 years and you haven't really done anything about it. So yeah, I really love that practice. It's a beautiful practice. And I just think I love visioning, right? Like it's just it's a really beautiful practice of mine. So I love that one. A similar practice that I do, a daily one, is with Kathy, one of my best friends. And she's, like I said, I like to be surrounded by wise women. So she's a fair few years older than me. And we have this beautiful daily practice where we use Voxer. Voxer is like a voice messaging app for those that don't know, where it's like a walkie-talkie where you can just talk for 15 minutes and they can talk back to you. And so we do this daily practice in the morning where we say 3 things that we're grateful for, 3 things that we're calling in, and 3 things that we're celebrating. Because I think also as women, it can be really hard to stop and celebrate. I don't know about you, but if you're growth orientated as well, you're always looking for the next thing. And it feels hard sometimes to celebrate yourself and the achievements that you have in business. So this has been a really great way to more tap into healthy celebration and really having a deep moment of like celebration and gratitude for achieving some pretty big goals or even the little ones. Yeah, so we do that. And we also talk about how we're going to show up for money, because we're both like I love working on my relationship with money and abundance. I think that's a really important part of life, especially as a businesswoman. Yeah, so we say those things day to day so that it keeps us accountable and in a space of gratitude and always moving forward and being in touch with, okay, what is it? And I'm not saying it's all, do not get me wrong, like that it is not sunshine and rainbows over here, okay? Like it is a roller coaster sometimes. And sometimes it's hard to even, on those days where I find it tough to be grateful, it's important to come back to simplicity, I find, and I can be grateful for a warm, soft bed or a washing machine that washes my clothes and plumbing and like those sorts of things, because I can definitely get caught up in my head and I'm not where I want to be in my business and this and that. And I'm human just like everybody else. It's definitely not unicorns. Yeah, exactly. It just strip it back and be like, I'm so grateful I have a washing machine and I don't have to go down to the river and like and literally. That I have water running through my pipes that washes me every day when I have a shower or flushes me when I go to the toilet. And those sort of things can really bring you back to feeling incredibly blessed, especially there's a lot going on in the world at the moment. So having those moments of gratitude can be really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it that you've got your biz bestie or your friend that you do your daily gratitudes with, because I have mine, and she and I were partnered up years ago when we did the coaching course together with a sound healing mentor of ours, and we've still kept going. We still keep in touch. We still share our gratitudes. I'm really curious. You said that you add on one about money and abundance. That's always such a great thing to do, because like you said, as women in business, we can often, I would say, put our heads in the sand when it comes around money, like not look at our accounts or know where the money is going or coming from or all of the things. What do you do, just as a hint, or if you're able to share just specifically what you do in that little part of your daily ritual or practice?
So healing my relationship to money has been a huge part of my life. Like I don't come from a rich family and I was a single mom. So I was really fucking broke for a while there and it was really tough. And so I really had to dig into all of my money past and my stories around money and wealth and abundance, and really choose a new relationship. And it's been a huge part of my growth in my business. And to be honest, I feel like healing my relationship to money has helped me heal my relationship to self-worth and love. Like it's been a really potent area of like transformation. And so I learn off of Amanda Francis. I absolutely adore her. When I first came across her, I thought she was a little bit of a Malibu Barbie, and I was like, what am I going to learn from this woman? But she's actually incredibly spiritual and soulful, and the way that she thinks about money and frames money and the perspectives that she has, I think leading edge and mind-blowing and really easy to come back to, and don't just heal money, they heal everything else. That's where I added that in, because both Kathy and I wanted to show up for money. Like, you've got to show up for money. And I think loving money and getting money to love you back is like one of those things. So that's a part of how we do it. So it can look a lot of different ways. Some days it looks like I'm going to listen to some Amanda Francis content. Some days it looks like I'm sending this invoice. Some days it looks like I'm going to do all my transactions on Xero. Sometimes it means I'm going to look at the packages on my pricing and see whether that needs to go up. Some days I'm going to go shopping and circulate and spend some money because I'm feeling like I need to, or I want to do that. Some days it looks like I'm going to invest in a coach or this next thing for me that's going to move my life and business forward. So it doesn't always have to be like a huge thing. Sometimes it can be a little thing. Some days it is, I'm going to get into my journal and have a cry because I can't get past this little block here around this issue that I have. And so I want to shift my energy around it and tell a new story. So it doesn't always have to be like I'm doing this for money. Some days it looks like I'm going to clean out my purse, or I'm going to recheck all my insurances and check not that you can really get away with a good mortgage rate these days, but so like all of those things. Some days it's I'm going to listen to this new podcast or book about money and investing. So it can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to just be like I'm showing up for money because you're going to
that you just that I'm just grateful for money that I've received today. Like you're looking at the ebb and flow of money in your life. So what you're receiving as well as what you're, oh my gosh, how amazing is it that you get to pay that invoice, that kind of thing. Or as well as like hygienically, I would say hygienically.
Yeah, I like that. Energetic hygiene, 100%.
Yeah, energetic hygiene is what I'm trying to say, of cleansing yourself with them, or cleansing money as well. So like you said, go through your purse, get rid of the old receipts or old cards that aren't valid anymore for shops or something. Or like you said, looking at your insurances or mortgages or other areas where money is in your life. That's a great takeaway. That's my aha for today.
That's good. Yeah. And I think the more you the more you clean up your relationship to money, the more also that you're aware of it, the less scary it becomes. Like I used to be so scared to do all those things and make those phone calls. And my heart used to be palpitating and I used to almost want to cry getting off the phone. But I think also having your finger on the pulse of your money constantly and your finger on the pulse of that energetic relationship between you and money it makes it way less scary and way more supportive, and you feel strong in it. You feel like you can rely on it and it takes care of you because you take care of your relationship with money. And doesn't everyone want to feel like that around money?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Gosh, what an amazing conversation we've had today. I feel like we've done some amazing circling around all sorts of things, but most importantly, sharing your story and hearing so much amazing bits of wisdom that have just flowed through in our conversation.
It's the crystal.
Had such a great time. Yeah, the crystal is amazing. That's so beautiful. I would like to say thank you so much for coming on the show. And I know you've got a beautiful freebie for our listeners, which is the guest speaker guide. Is that correct? Yeah. So what does that quickly entail?
Yeah, I've got 2 freebies if you want.
Great. Oh, we love freebies.
Firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I love conversations like this and I just find them so wholesome and so awesome. So thank you. It's lovely to be on the receiving end of a podcast as well and being interviewed. So the freebie that I have for your listeners is if they are wanting to dip their toe into the podcasting pool without maybe starting their podcast just yet, I have a guest speaker guide where you can tap into the magic of podcasting without having to start one yourself. So how do you become a guest and just show up for conversations? Like earlier, how we were talking about having conversations and organically, beautifully selling your business, right? Or your services or whatever it is you do. So It's a really beautiful guide on how to pull out a bit of your message, how to create a media kit, those sorts of things. And it's free. It's on my website. The link's in the show notes. And I'll also give you my Bold Broadcasters Masterclass, which is like a really meaty, juicy freebie where I go into like podcast planning and kind of mapping your first podcast season and the things that you need. There's a lot in there. There's a lot of resources and a lot of kind of other bonuses in there as well around, if you're thinking about wanting to start a podcast, but you really have no idea and there's a lot of fear around it, I break down those things and I really walk you through that like soulful why, like why you're doing this and what you want your audience to get from it and all that kind of stuff. So then it feels less tricky to start the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's such good resources. Thank you so much for sharing them. That's brilliant.
Welcome.
So I'll put them all in the description below, everybody, so you can click all the buttons and check Nikki out along with all her socials and all her links, because I know you'll get so much value out of not only this show, but also tapping into your beautiful podcast as well, Quintessential Being. Thank you so much, Nikki, for being on the show. I had such a lovely time chatting to you. I'm sure this isn't the only time. I'm sure there'll be many more to come.
Hope so.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to today's episode. Please rate and review this podcast so that it can continue to thrive and reach more listeners. I love to know who my listeners are, so please screenshot this episode and tag me on Instagram at Anna F. Hasty. And I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode.